Hey everyone, Shane here. Let me tell you about my show coming up on November 24th, Saturday night over at Pops. We're calling it Riffs for Gifts. Me and my friend Lexi Schlimmer put this show together for benefiting Toys for Tots, and we invited all along our friends. Outrun the Fall, The Poor, Steeples, Monk and the People, The Matching Shoe, and Silent Hollow, all performing live that evening on Saturday the 24th. Along with that, we'll have some silent auction stuff. We'll have there's rumors that Santa Claus might even be there, so I'm very excited about that. And a whole lot more other things coming up. So get involved with the show. You can find more details at popsrocks.com. And come on out. It's a $10 donation at the door or $5 with a toy donation. So again, all this benefiting Toys for Tots, and it's going to be a great time. So come on out Saturday, November 24th, Pops, Sauget, Illinois. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, this is Lexi
and Sid
of Hess Van Schlimmer Metalworks and Art, home of the Schlimmer Metal Wolves. We are a small but furious family-run welding, fabrication, and metalworks shop with CNC capabilities and now full-scale powder coating operation. We bring unique, affordable quality art to life within the realm of practicality. Whether it's signs, sculptures, railings, shelves, furniture, or even just powder coat for your rims or your patio set, give us a look. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram or call 618-670-5724. We are Hess Van Schlimmer Metalworks. That was terrible.
We tried.
Hey everybody, Shane here. I want to tell you about my friends at Naked Vine, located at 1624 Clarkson Road in Chesterfield, Missouri, serving up all your favorite wine, whiskey, and local craft beers. Stop by and visit them Wednesday, November 7th for Hunter Hamilton Group. Thursday, November 8th, Phil and Carson from the Scandaleros. Friday, November 9th, Baja. And Saturday, November 10th, Nick Detmeyer and the Sawdusters. And then I will be there on Tuesday, November 13th with my singer-songwriter storytelling showcase at 7 o'clock with Nick Gussman, Maddie Shell, and Sean Kimball. Again, get involved with them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Stop by and see for yourself why it's being called the best city bar in the county. So check it out, nakedvine.net. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the show.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Chris from I Like the Future and the Future Likes Me, and you are listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast, y'all.
Hey everybody, Shane Presley, your Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri, hanging out with Chris Schott. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much.
This is exciting, man. I'm excited to be here. This is I go on a lot about it on this show, but I love that this show continues to introduce me to new music in St. Louis, and that is the case again today. This is our first time meeting and getting to hang and getting to talk about all of what you're up to. So.
Yeah, and I was just before we started, I was talking about how I really...
Hey,
Voter?
It's a boner.
Boner. That's a totally different kind of scenario.
That's my that's George Takei from on the Stern Show. It's from the Stern Show.
Yeah.
Somehow they...
Is that your text tone?
Yeah.
See, now, like, here's the thing. Like, a couple of years ago, my text tone was the Tim Allen grunt from the Home Improvement Show.
Yeah.
And so, like, every, 20 minutes or so, my phone would go, oh, and it got real old real fast.
Yeah.
It was funny, for the first day.
Sure.
And then, I had to change it because it just wasn't, every 10 minutes, oh, people were like, dude, you gotta turn that off. So, but I like Hey Boner better.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised that most time... especially as the professional I am, as everybody's aware, I have my phone on silent. I was surprised that I actually had my ringer on somehow.
Yeah, it was a happy accident. It's a good way to start a show.
But the backstory on that is somewhere on one day on Stern's show, George somebody called in, I guess, and that's what they said their name was Boner. So George is like, "Hey, Boner," and like
history was made.
Yeah. So then like, so Fred like immediately like put it in as a drop. So like now like anytime, I mean not like every time but like he does it. Every now and then he'll throw it in, and I just like in tears laughing because like somebody will call up and Howard's like talking to him. He's like, "Hey, Boner," and I'm just like.
Do you think like it's your phone going off when you hear it on the radio?
No, but that's why I did it. I was like, it made me laugh so much. I was like, I'm gonna make that my text tone. So like, that's what I did.
I like it, man.
It took a little while to find it on the internet, but I did. And
your massive search for Were you? I mean, if
you gotta be careful, man, when you're searching for
boners. Yeah, that's a total. that's a road that. Sometimes you don't want to go down.
Right. You got to specify.
Or maybe you do.
Yeah.
I mean, like it all depends on the day.
I definitely think this is most times I've said boner on a show, though. So we're
already breaking records.
Yeah, breaking new ground here.
What I was saying before I got interrupted by that big boner was I was saying that your show is so prolific. Like you do, what is it, 640? What episode is it? 640.
Well, there's as we're recording, there's currently 641 of them out there.
Right. Okay.
And I have a couple backlog that'll be coming out soon too. So.
Okay, so that to me, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, I didn't even know there were 640 musicians in the city. So I mean, and I was saying it's a real service what you do. I mean, like, it really means a lot to the community.
Thanks, man.
It really does. It's
well, some of those are repeats, and some are like. I've had 5 members of the Urge on, and as solo. So I'm missing Matt, but I've had Steve, Jerry, John, Bill, and Carl on, all so individual. So
I mean, what a legendary band!
Oh yeah, for sure.
I remember I bought Receiving the Gift of Flavor in like 9th grade, and that's actually like. That's kind of they were one because what I'm here to talk about mostly is the ska record I recorded. So like they were one of the first like ska punk, even though they're more than that. They play funk and metal,
reggae and everything. It's all kinds of mixed in there.
And so like they were one of the first bands that kind of like introduced me to that genre of music, and that got me into Fishbone and ME330, which is another like local, like legendary band, probably one of my favorite bands of all time. And they were a gateway drug for me for sure. So that's cool. I would be like a little fangirl around those guys.
I totally am, man. Like I try to keep it cool on the outside, but inside I'm like freaking out a little bit that I'm getting to hang out with these guys and like same kind of thing. I just these are guys that I grew up. I still am a huge fan of, but like at the time, like these guys are rock stars and they still still doing big things. I mean, they're playing the pageant on November 23rd, and I'm sure they'll sell out again. So.
They do that every year, right? So
it's always Thanksgiving.
And it's so cool that particular like that band and that style of music, it can still pack out a club like the pageant, and they were so big. Here especially, what's really kind of funny about the Urge is that I remember when they were in their heyday, like they would pack out these clubs in St. Louis, like Mississippi Nights and the pageant, now the pageant, and then I remember hearing stories about how when they would go on the road, like they had cities that they were popular in, but mostly like they would play like really small venues that were like, I don't know, half full, and I'm like, how are they not a huge hit everywhere? And meanwhile, like another ska band from St. Louis called ME330, they had kind of like international success. Like they would sell out gigantic stadiums in Japan, and then back home they would like only fill up like a club the size of like the Galaxy, if you remember the Galaxy. Like that was a pretty awesomely raunchy club back in the day, on Washington Avenue.
Well, there's a lot of the stories like that. I mean, like just so many artists are like regional, like they're maybe nationally known, but like like Sammy Hagar, like in St. Louis.
He's a perfect example.
He's like he's an icon. He's huge in St. Louis, but like, you know, around the rest around the country, he's, you know, he does well, but like he comes here to St. Louis and
it's,
you know
it's like a frenzy.
Right, yeah.
Apparently, I don't know if this is true. There's St. Louis lore that he owns a house somewhere off Broadway.
Oh yeah.
And that like whenever he's in town, he goes to that house and he throws a big party and just everyone just filters into his home. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Sounds cool though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, anything to build up Sammy Hagar's mystique. I think.
Yeah. I've definitely heard stories like that with when you know, back in the day with Chuck Berry, like where I grew up, you know, I still live out in Wentzville, and like there's some of the old timers that I used to work with like go tell me stories like when they were kids, like they would go out to Chuck's place and party and stuff, and like
God.
he told me a story one time about like, you know, like all these rock and roll guys would come out there, of course, and he said something about like him and his brother, like it was like the neighborhood kids in the front and rock star guys in the back kind of thing.
Okay.
Or something,
Right.
some kind of deal like that. And then like they would like sneak in the back, and then like he saw like Keith Richards like passed out in the yard or something like that. And
Oh my God.
which who knows if it's true, but sounds like a possibility. Like
I
so,
think it's. I mean, yeah, it sounds like a possibility.
yeah,
Yeah, for
so
sure.
That's kind of the fun of those stories, is like there's enough truth in there to make you like, yeah, that sounds like could it be possibility. And
Chuck was up to a lot of things.
oh yeah, all right,
So
yeah, sure.
anything's a possibility with
Yeah.
Chuck Berry.
Well, and Keith Richards like to have a good time, so still does. I
It's
can't. It's
Perfect company.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the you know, it's funny you said this. I didn't really. There was speaking of the record, you're saying it was a ska record or EP, and like I remember listening, and like I've listened to it twice on the way over, and there was definitely one that stood out as more of a ska tune to me for sure. Some of them, I mean, I know there's other subgenres of ska and different things, but there was definitely a couple of things, and so I didn't really I don't know, it's hard for me to like categorize music
Yeah, I understand.
because there are so many subgenres and different things.
Well,
but,
the weird thing about this record, just to give a little bit of background, when I was in high school, I was in a ska band. And this was back during like the third wave of ska music, when like Real Big Fish and like those guys were all popular. And like, so the cool thing to do when you're in high school was start a band, because like that's what you do with your friends, you know. And so we were a 9-piece ska band, and we were called Jimmy Got Hustled. And like the thing about a 9-piece ska band, I think there's actually an Onion article about this where like the headline is like ska band outnumbers crowd.
oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that was like us all the time. Like there were 9 of us, so like it's like 4 horn players, a guitar, a drummer, a bass player, and me, and a singer. And like we would just take up, like we would play the old Creepy Crawl down on Tucker, and like we would outnumber the crowd and the bar staff, and like and they would just, it's ridiculous. And so like, but I loved it. Like that was how I kind of like, you know, cut my teeth and learned how to write songs, and learned that I love like collaborating with people, you know, and like playing music and letting their influence kind of impact the songwriting process. And so, you know, fast forward a couple years, and ska is kind of dead again, and I end up joining a pop punk band called Failing English, which was around for a few years, where I was just the singer actually in that band, and in my ska band I was a keyboard player, and Failing English was kind of like my real attempt at being like a musician, you know, like maybe we can make a career out of this, but no, like it's really hard to make a living playing music, you know, and for lots of reasons. But so and then just like from there, I kept playing in all these bands, being kind of like a hired gun or hired musician in other bands, but I always kept like missing ska, even though it wasn't cool. Like right. Nobody listened to it anymore. But I'm a huge fan of this record label called Asian Man Records. This guy named Mike Park, who was in a band called Skank and Pickle, the Bruce Lee Band, he's been all over the place, and I've always just been like, I've always had one foot in that pond, so I knew at some point I always wanted to come back to making ska music. So what happened was last year I was on Christmas break. I'm a teacher, so I had a whole month off. Sounds like, and 2 weeks of vacation is cool, but then the other 2 weeks I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. Right. So I just started writing songs, and like the first 2 weeks was all about video games and eating pizza, and the second 2 weeks on vacation was all about writing songs and trying to make a record. So I was like, I'm gonna write these songs. They're gonna be ska songs, and I noticed that all of the songs that I was writing, they were all connected with this theme. I started thinking about how weird the internet is. Speaking of hey boner, and I started like writing all these lyrics about just like weird internet culture, and in particular like how awful like dudes are on the internet, like just depraved, like awful trolls, like how people can be trolls and how people can like ruin someone's life, the concept of like catfishing someone, like I don't know. Sure. So I decided like I wanted to write an album that was kind of an updated ska record, but also kind of a concept record too. And I think like what you said a second ago about how there's a lot of like subgenres, and also like I think what's really true about that is it doesn't really sound like a traditional, even like a classic ska punk record. It doesn't really have that vibe.
Right.
It just has its own life. And I'm kind of proud of that, because I think that it sounds really different, and the people who've heard it so far have been kind of I don't know, taken back by, like, they expected it to sound like Real Big Fish, and it sounds more like I don't know, it just sounds different.
Yeah.
That I guess like I think mainly your vocals, like, because you there's definitely like some like some of the tones and some of the beats, like the tempos that you're playing. I mean, it definitely lends to some ska tempo stuff. Like you can definitely see some people dancing to some of that stuff. But then like your vocals over are a little more kind of that more in that pop kind of sound that you were talking about too earlier.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see like all your kind of influences mashing together on this record, and I feel like
that. And what's funny is like, so I'm already working on the next solo record, and it's not a ska record. It's like a New Orleans piano kind of thing. Like I'm just a fan of like all sorts of different music, and
sure.
And like I love country music, I love rock music, I love soul music and jazz, and like I'm kind of one of those guys, like I'm one of those lame people that are like, I like everything, and I just really do, man. Like I just really like I really think as long as it's well written and well produced, and
that's where I'm at. I mean, I like all sorts of different things, but I'm definitely very particular of my artists, though. Like, there's definitely a lot of crap in all the different genres, but
absolutely.
But there's people doing different things in all those that I'm like, I like what they're doing. Like, I like.
Yeah. So. One of my pet peeves is when someone says like, the classic, I like everything but rap and country, and I'm like, no, you just haven't found the right hip hop or the right country or the right rapper. Like there's people doing like just mind blowing stuff, and like you just have to find it and latch onto it, and then from when you find one artist you like, you're really finding probably 5 or 6 that you like.
Yeah.
Like I recently got into this rapper named Open Mike Eagle. He's kind of he's just a small rap star guy, he's good, he's very good, but like I learned about like 3 more artists that I liked because I don't know, like Spotify will recommend something based on what you listen to, and I'm like, hell yeah, this is, you get into a rabbit hole, and next thing you know, you have a whole repertoire of a genre that you didn't even really like care about before, so
yeah, that's fun.
It's good.
Let's give them a little sneak peek of what you've been up to. This is again, this is all under your you perform under the name I Like the Future and the Future Likes Me. So if anybody's looking to find some of Chris's solo music, you can head out there and look for that. And it's all available on Bandcamp.com.
Yeah, it's on Bandcamp, but it's also on Spotify, Apple Music, all of those things. I went through a distributor and they put it on all the platforms, so it's up there now.
Yeah, very cool. Well, let's give them Come Together, which appears as track 2 on the new EP. And is there anything you want to add around this one?
Yeah, well, so this particular song is about it's about how social media has this kind of facade of making people feel connected, but in reality, like, it just turns everyone into these kind of people who seek out likes and superficial ways of really connecting, but we're not really getting to know each other. So it's kind of this facade of like actually coming together, but really like we're kind of alone in a way. I don't mean for it to sound so depressing. It sounds really lame when I put it that way. No, it's I don't mean for it to sound so depressing. So it's actually like a pop punk ska tune. So
yeah,
I'm juxtaposing this like happy versus kind of I don't know, depressing the lyrics. So.
Sure.
Suffering, telling me that everything will be okay. And I got all my friends online telling me that I'll be fine, but when they log off, I can feel the weight again. We're all alone, but yeah, we're fine. Isolation by our own design. This is what we came for. This is what we choose. This is what we pay for. I found it from you. Come together now. Well, I got 20 likes a day. Sometimes life is pretty cool. It makes me feel like everything will be okay. With every conversation comes a targeted ads, and I feel like advertisers know me better than my friends. All on together, but yeah, we're fine. Living, breathing, social data lines. This is what we came for. This is what we choose. This is what we pay for. I found it from you. I heal myself off of my couch. I make my way right to the door. I turn the knob. I see daylight. I hear the sounds of people outside. Oh, fuck this. This is what we came for. This is what we choose. This is what we pay for. I found it from you. This is what we came for. This is what we choose. This is what we pay for. I found it from you. Come together now. Come together now. Come together now. Come together now.
I do. One of my favorite quotes I use a lot when I hear that kind of stuff is from Robin Hood Men in Tights,
Classic movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a good one.
But there was a great scene where he's Sherman or Loxley or whatever. Whatever his name.
I can't remember either.
But he comes back and he's like telling him that Robin kicked his ass, and he's like could you just give me the bad news in a good way? And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll try that. And he's like, so
that's kind of what this is. Yeah,
just bad news in a good way.
Yeah.
But I like that, man. I like I said, this was it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of different you definitely hear the keys that you were saying, and there's that. But there's some saxophone kind of sounds in there, right?
Yeah.
There was a couple different things going on.
So the guy who recorded this is a guy named Daniel Williams, it's strange because I've known Daniel for a long time. He actually married my wife and I. He was the pastor at our wedding. So me and him go way back, and we've played in bands together and stuff too. But
from Bear Cub, right?
He's from Bear Cub, yeah. He plays with a guy named Ian McGowan, who actually is the bass player on this record too.
Oh, nice.
And he plays saxophone. Ian plays saxophone and bass. I was really lucky to have both of these guys on this record because they are both just phenomenal musicians. I mean,
great guys.
Awesome guys. They own their own podcast network.
Yeah.
And they're just so prolific. They put out so many awesome shows.
They recently had me out on Space America. Good Morning Space America.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I haven't listened to that yet, but I know I remember him mentioning to me that you were going on that.
Yeah, that was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah, Daniel's the best. He's a perfectionist, man, and it shows in his work because he's just it's so clean. Everything he does is so clean sounding, and he's methodical about how he works. So recording with him was really interesting because the day we recorded drums, for example, he had 2 bass drums connected back to back. So he had 3 or 4 mics on it. And usually when you mic a bass drum, you might have 2 mics, one in the front and then maybe one to the side or catching the atmosphere. But he had the first bass drum mic'd, which was backed up to the second bass drum, which had a mic between them, then 2 mics on the side. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This seems so over the top. But he's like, just trust me. And it's true. If you listen to the bass drum on that record, it's thick. He's he's an audio engineer, and
for sure.
But he's also a very, very talented drummer. And when I sent him the demos, to play, learn these songs, I had some pretty weird small beats and type signatures and things that I wanted him to do, and he just didn't skip a beat. He just listened to it once and knew it, and that's not. I'm not that caliber of musician. I'll never be that good. He's just so talented.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ian actually, what's interesting about him. I was supposed to have a different guy play bass, but he had kind of a family emergency and couldn't make it that day to the studio. So the night before, I send Ian a message. I'm like, Ian, do me a solid, man. Come down, play some bass for me. He was already going to play saxophone. So I was like, you're going to be there anyway. And so he had roughly 5 hours to learn the songs. And that dude just put out the best bass lines. If you listen to the bass lines carefully, they're sick. I'm so happy with them. I remember in the studio, I was sitting on the couch and my jaw was on the floor because it was just so intricate. I'm like, there's no way I could have asked for a better happy mistake.
Sure.
And the original guy would have been great. He's also a fantastic bass player. His name is Justin Haltmer. He plays in the band Disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
And in Bobby Stevens' band too. And he's an amazing bass player. But so he would have been fine, but Ian did. Ian just really went to bat for me and knocked a home run out of the park. So.
Very cool. You said Dan performed your wedding?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this was back in 2009. My wife and I, neither of us are religious or anything, so we didn't want a traditional ceremony. So. We just wanted some sort of we wrote our own vows. Our vows were made up of Journey lyrics, and Daniel came down to this small little wedding we had and performed it, and it was cool, man. he did a great job. You know, we couldn't have asked for a better wedding. It was perfect for us.
Nice.
It was very like quirky, weird.
Yeah.
You know, kind of deal.
Well, that seems right up his alley.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of a weird guy.
Yeah.
He's great though, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love both those guys. I'd known Ian for a little while. We did a Good Deeds episode.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But
that band's awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the first time I met Daniel was doing a Bear Cub episode of the podcast, and
nice.
And we met immediately clicked, and you know, was very friendly and stuff, and it was just fun getting to. That's what I love about doing this show, and I can already tell that's the case today with us. Is like just people you didn't know, but you figure like, well, we probably have a lot of things in common because we both like music and different things. But I meet people doing this show, and then all of a sudden we become great friends and stuff, and it's like, and that's the cool thing about this. Doing this now, the networking I get to do with it and stuff.
There's always a common thread, I think, with the music community, you know, and everyone's usually pretty cool,
sure.
You know, and like usually very happy to help each other out. And what's good about St. Louis, I think, because I honestly think like a podcast like this would look and sound very different probably in a bigger city. St. Louis has got this really strange kind of like. It's a big city, but it's also small enough you can actually have an identity in it.
Yeah.
You know, and so for example, like, you know, we're talking about Nick Gussman and Bobby Stevens a little earlier before I think we were recording, and you know, you go to a town like Nashville and there's 300 Bobby Stevens and 400 Nicks, and they're all just as good as each other, man.
Sure.
And here it's like you got these two guys who just like stick out as these like super strong songwriters, and it's like a small enough town for them to really like carve out a place for themselves at the table, and it's a pretty nice thing to have in a city.
I agree. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I love what we got going on here right now in St. Louis. It's there's something really special happening, and that's what's kind of fun about doing this show also, just kind of documenting it all and preserving all this files where we're like someday we'll look back and like, I mean, we'll have it all documented. Like, hey man, it was.
I never thought about it that way, but you're right. Like you're kind of like creating like an archive of a moment in time.
Yeah, that's my goal. I want to like whenever I'm said and done, like be a nice time capsule of what St. Louis music was for those years and stuff like that. So. But yeah, man, it's I'm having time of my life doing this show, man. Meeting all kinds of cool people. So.
Yeah, it's always a good look. I've always enjoyed listening to it. It's because even if and there's a lot of times I don't know the bands or the artist, and it's just like an education, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, well, that's what I'm learning just along with the audience. So
yeah,
that's what's fun about it. So.
That's cool.
Well, let's drop in a live one. We did do a little live. I thought this was. This is fun because this is again on the record. You hear a lot of, like you're saying, the drums and bass and saxophone and keys, and you have some of these pretty big orchestration on some of these songs and stuff. And so for this one, this is just we sat downstairs in your room over there with your piano and just you and the keys, and I thought this turned out real nice. This is 14 empty bottles of Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Hell of a song title.
Yeah, this is right up my alley, man. Mountain Dew is my beverage of choice.
Are you a Code Red fan?
Every now and then I'll throw a Code Red in. I'm more I stick to the original.
You're an OG.
Yeah,
I get it.
But let's talk about this tune a little bit, man. What's anything you want to add around this one?
Well, I think I may have talked about it as I was starting playing it, but. It's just it's a narrative. It's a story about a guy in his basement who he all growing up he had a crush on the girl across the street from him, and you know the years gone by he's still stuck in that basement. Kind of I think the term is neckbeard. I think is the for these guys who stay in their parents' basements and don't really like get a job. And I'm not trying to like pick on anybody or anything, but like it's just one of those. It's become kind of like the living term for guys who they stay in these basements and they they don't leave, you know, and I think their rooms are called Neckbeard Nest. So you know, he's watching this girl come home. You know, years later, they're both all grown up, and he's watching her come home for Christmas, and he still fantasizes about her, and that's what the song's about.
Yeah.
I guess I'll introduce the song if that's all right, because I think that it's important to note that this song is written from the perspective of a loser in his basement watching his childhood crush live a better life than he did. So that's what this is about. It's called 14 Empty Bottles of Mountain Dew. Out the basement window, deep inside my parents' house, I see you're home for the holidays. I don't have the courage to tell you, you make my heart beat just a little faster. I made an avatar out of you. I know there's no hope for me. Can't say the same for you. If anything speaks for me, it's these 14 empty bottles of Mountain Dew. The same for you. If anything speaks for me, it's these 14 empty bottles of Mountain Dew.
Is this like just a fictional story that, or was there other things that kind of inspired it?
It's fictional, I guess, in the sense that the story itself is fictional, but it's born out of real life stories of internet forums. Mm-hmm. Like there's actually are you a fan of Reddit?
I mean, I'm definitely aware, but like I'm on
Reddit all the time. I enjoy reading Reddit a lot. It's kind of how I there's a lot of good like news Reddits and
sure.
But there's a subreddit called neckbeards, and there's all these like stories about these guys who stay in their basements and don't come out, and how that causes like depression and you know, they're kind of like a support group in a weird way. So I kind of drew inspiration from that. I wanted to like draw these kind of really realistic things about, you know, digital culture, online culture, and how that might affect people and how they kind of advance, you know, into adulthood and things like that. We're in this weird moment where, you know, we're seeing now a whole generation of kids who grew up with the internet integrated into every day of their lives. Like I remember a time like before the internet, you know, I remember being on the internet for the first time, like in 7th grade, like in school, you know, and I feel like there's kids who are like, they don't remember that. It's just part of it's in the water supply for them, you know? So like, I don't know. So that's just kind of like been the theme of this record is like, what's the impact of that, you know? And sometimes it's not pretty.
Speaking of internet in 7th grade, first thing that popped in my head was, I remember the same kind of situation. Like we just started getting the internet and things, and somebody went to whitehouse.com as they were researching an article or something like that, and which if anybody is unaware, that's not the White House website.
Oh no, I didn't know that. So what is it? It's
whitehouse.gov would be
is whitehouse.com something like really filthy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
everyone should be furiously going to that right now.
Who knows if it's still there? But at the time, we didn't even have blocks on the computers at the school and stuff.
Was this before they knew to really do that?
Yeah. So it just popped up, and all of a sudden people were like, what's that? What's going on the screen over here in the library and stuff.
I'm going to it right now.
All right, let's see what happens.
Okay, so it's no longer something gross.
Okay.
But it is instead it looks like a poll, like a poll you can take about about the government. So
yeah, well, it used to be an adult site, and so there was a lot of different polls on there on that one.
Everyone needs a hobby.
Right. But yeah, man, I did like this song though. I like that. This version, your live version, I thought was I think we maybe clocked in under 3 minutes or something. But on the record, it's I think 6 or so, right?
Yeah, it's long. We decided to have a little jam session at the end, a little jam sesh at the end. So the song kind of ends, the story ends, and then we just kind of I wanted Ian to riff on that saxophone for a while.
Sure.
I threw in some piano, played a little acoustic guitar on that part, and I just wanted to build. I wanted to build a mood to in the record, and the cool thing about the saxophone on this record is that it sounds like those cheesy '80s saxophone tones, that you would get from a Phil Collins record or something. And I love that. And Daniel, was mixing this record, and he's like, "Dude, you're gonna freak when you hear the saxophone," and I'm so happy with it. It sounds so you can just picture Ian with his shirt off, with dolphins jumping over him in a rainbow, and him dry humping while he's playing the saxophone. It's
exactly what I pictured.
Yeah, everyone should be picturing Ian that way. He's a sexy man.
What's funny is you say all that because what I pictured, what I thought would be not necessarily I was ripping it off or anything, but I thought it would be a fun mashup or a remix kind of thing.
Yeah.
What came to my mind was Under the Sea from Little Mermaid.
Excellent.
Because there's that, there's similar tones, and then there's even the parts where the other fish are playing the saxophone thing. So
someone should make a video of that, of a montage of Little Mermaid scenes with that song.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe I'll do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I just thought that would be a fun if you were playing it live one time, and then all of a sudden in the middle you had a breakdown, and then you went into Under the Sea, I would just lose my mind. So
that would be a magic moment worth remembering.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You were saying though that this is pretty much just a studio project, right? You don't have plans to.
The plan is no. I've had a couple people ask about playing live, and I'm sure the guys who played on this record. And by the way, I should also mention Brandon Wan, who also he played guitar on this record.
Another friend of the show.
Yeah, awesome guy, just a childhood friend of mine. I've known him forever, since he was 13, and I was 15. Just known him forever, and me, him, and his brother. His brother was in Los Angeles. His brother works for Facebook. He lives in I don't know, Silicon Valley or something now. We were all friends growing up, and we just always kept in contact. And he plays on this record, and it's he wails, man. He's in all these good bands too. He was in a band called This City of Takers. He's in a band called Why Not.
Yeah, that's what we did. We did a Why Not podcast a while back when they
with
put out the new music.
With Corey Smale and Strange Donuts. Yeah, or now he's with Good Fortune. But Yeah, Corey's another childhood friend. Like, I grew up with that guy. Actually, he was in Family and English with me, a little punk band I was in a while back. Yeah, he's a good dude.
That's just a prime example how small St. Louis is, I guess what you like saying.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, if and this goes, I guess, like, not to, like, harp back on this idea of, like, small city, big city, but, like, if this goes for any kind of art in a city, like, right now we have like a kind of a really awesome poetry scene. There's a lot of really good poets, like, and I know Nick Gussman has been playing poetry readings, like people read poetry, then like Nick will play a song, and like you're starting to see art like kind of like merge into this really cool collaborative experience, and it's pretty great, and so yeah, it is. It's very everyone's kind of connected.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You why we were talking the Mountain Dew. Was that just what you pictured him drinking, or
Mountain Dew is kind of according to internet lore, is the unofficial drink of neckbeard. Or no, I guess the official drink of neckbeards.
Yeah.
I mean, who can blame them? It's delicious.
Sure.
I mean, like it's a tasty beverage. So.
Yeah. I also I remember we kind of mentioned something, I think, like about the Mountain Dew and Dorito fingers and stuff earlier and stuff. Like, and it kind of put me right back into a place in the '90s when I had my Nintendo 64, and I had the Mountain Dew, or also Surge was also.
Oh man, Surge came back recently.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. I like that it's available, and again, for a while you could only get it on the Amazon, and then now it's in some gas stations and stuff. So
yeah, I remember like a couple years ago when it was just on Amazon, my brother-in-law bought, like, I guess because the cases were selling out so fast, and he got his hands on one, and for my birthday he gave me one Surge.
Right.
And it was it was a great gift, because like, I was like, I felt so nostalgic about that whole thing.
Yeah, it's like going back in time, man. It's crazy. But I, like I said, I have a lot of vivid memories of those nights. Pizza roll, Mountain Dew, and Doritos, and NFL, Blitz on 64 and stuff. And
for me, it was NHL '94 for the Sega Genesis.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's a classic too.
God,
what's Republica or something. What's the name? That song has like that theme song on it and stuff. It's like
I don't remember that.
It's I don't know. So I listen to a lot of '90s on 9, so they play. And also I was a big Jock James fan, so like they played a lot of that same. It was like more the NHL '94 was more like the 8-bit version or whatever of it. But like that's that.
Those are the good games. Like I mean, like I like all those games still now, but there's just something about going back to those originals, and back when you could play, Wayne Gretzky in a hockey game because he was still a player.
Yeah. I always was disappointed that like on the basketball ones though, like NBA Jam and stuff like that. Michael Jordan wasn't on a lot of those, like.
I wonder why that was.
Which was always kind of weird.
I wonder if he had some like clause in a contract or something that.
Yeah.
Or maybe like.
Oh wait, no, that's not Republic. Not that one. I was trying to. Sorry.
I
was trying to remember which one.
Was it Elastica? Maybe.
I don't know. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, you're cool. You're cool.
Gonna bother me if I don't think of it.
I hate that, man. When I'm like I know it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it.
Yeah, let's see. People are waiting on the. I'm sure somebody's probably screaming at it right now. They probably know who it is. Let's see.
Nice.
Maybe I'm thinking of Familiar. Let's That's not the one I was thinking of, but that's a solid one though.
That sounds like a classic video game track.
Maybe it was 90s, like 96 or something. EA Sports. That's y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's even got the 8-bit sound.
Yeah. Somebody, I don't know, I can't remember what it was. It was like on a podcast or something I was listening to, and they were doing like a battle, like a who does the best EA Sports. So they were like who could do that the best and stuff, like the closest to that, and I thought that was pretty funny. That's
it's in the game.
Yeah. I don't think anybody knows that anymore though. Like that's kind of.
Do they even say that anymore at the beginning of the games?
I don't know. I haven't played in a while. Like I'm not quite as into the gaming as I once was.
Yeah,
but,
me neither. I always want to be, but I just
Yeah, but I don't think they do that same drop anymore.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. Let's drop into one more tune. This is I thought this was another fun title that really friended my zone.
Yeah. So the friend zone is the kind of the subject of the song. Another kind of product of internet lore and meme culture, and really kind of like what this song is really about is more than maybe any of the other songs is about what are called nice guys. These guys kind of like who think that women owe them attention and affection. And I feel like that attitude and that mindset gets perpetuated when you live in this kind of echo chamber on the internet sometimes, like where you have people just kind of like repeating ideas back to you and kind of validating your feelings, and on message boards and on chat rooms and things, and you see that start to bleed over into like their attempts at having real life relationships, and so that's what the song's about. It's about a guy who gets friend zoned and is totally oblivious that he's being a pig, and like.
I told you today that you look nice with your hair in that new way, and you just smiled and said to me, I'm so glad that we are friends, that we friend in my zone, that we be friend in my zone. You won't respond to me. When I walk into your car, we look just like a couple, and you just laugh and say to me, yeah, like a couple of besties, that we be friend in my zone, that we be friend in my zone. You won't go down on me. Yeah, you keep this flame alive with every hopeful flip of your hair, every smile. I've got so much respect, but you never accept me, and it's not fair.
it's about. Like,
Yeah.
and what's kind of funny, there's kind of I made a mistake with this song. So I really liked the way the song turned out, recorded wise. I thought it was actually probably the catchiest one, and so I was like, this is going to be the one I want to send to radio stations, you know. And so I sent it actually to KDHX, and there's a really great show on KDHX called Sky's the Limit. It's been on the air and on the radio for a long time. It's hosted by a guy now named JJ Roy, who is just a cool dude, and he does just such a good job with it. Plays a variety of ska music, ska punk, traditional, two-tone, and anything between calypso stuff, like all sorts of stuff that's inspired. And so I send him this song, and I didn't really understand. The idiot that I am, I didn't understand that the song out of context with the rest of the album, he may not understand fully the irony of it. So I sent him the track, and he's like, hey Chris, this sounds great, but there's absolutely no way I can play this on the air because the lyrics are just vulgar. You know, and he goes, I already have, this is like a direct quote, he goes, I already have Proud Boys calling the show. I can't play this on the air. And then I immediately went into panic mode because, like, I don't know if the listeners know what a Proud Boy is. Or do you know what a Proud Boy is?
A little bit. Just
it's awful.
Yeah.
Like it's these guys who it's basically an extreme right wing group.
Right.
They're very racist and like they're just bad guys and like they unfortunately like don't get taken very seriously. You know, and I think people don't really pay them much attention. But apparently they've been calling into his radio show. I guess there's like a ska following in this group of people. I don't know. And I guess he thought that this particular track might like appeal to them in the wrong ways. So I was frantically like messaging him back. I'm like, I swear to God, I'm not a Proud Boy. You know, like, and I'm like, this poor guy thinks like some jerk is sending him some misogynistic track, you know. And so thankfully he listened to me and I explained myself and he was like, yeah, no problem, just send me the rest of the tunes. And he ended up playing a different song on the show last week. So. Yeah. So that was cool of him, very, very cool of him to do, and I appreciate that. So shout out to that show, because that show is so good.
Yeah.
And, like, KHX is, like, they just kill it all the time. So, but yeah, so, like, I made the mistake of making this song, like, my lead single, and then, you know, people weren't picking up on the irony of the lyrics.
Right.
Like, totally ironic. Don't do the things in this song. Yeah. It's, like, the message, so, yeah.
There's, my friend, do you know Tim Convey at all?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't think I've never met him. No.
He's plays keys with Ludo.
Okay, I know Ludo. Yeah.
So
awesome.
he plays in the band, but he's also, since the band hadn't been doing as much, he's also recently been very active in radio. He's been had a show on Y98 for a little while, and then he went on. He's on another station now. And anyway, he's doing real well with that, and then he's also doing a lot of stand-up comedy, and along with having there's a real good joke about being a keyboard player in Ludo, but he's also got a good joke about how Aretha Franklin's Respect. You know, he said like how that became like this big anthem about for women and stuff. You know, but he's like, well, it was originally written by Otis Redding. Yeah. And how Respect was, when he said that, was like a euphemism for, getting some action when he got home and stuff.
Oh, God.
And so how he's like, what is he's like, how's that like? That's kind of crazy. A woman taking a man's words and twisting them, and or something like that.
Oh no, yeah.
But it was just funny. But like how, it's just you write these lyrics and how they can be misinterpreted to be some kind of Proud Boy thing or whatever. But it's like
it's all about context. Right. Like I guess for sure, and I totally understand it. Like if someone heard That Really Friended My Zone out of the context of the album, they'd probably just think I'm a huge asshole. And and so yeah, like I totally get it, and I don't blame him for thinking that. And it would be interesting to me to see how many songs over time have been kind of like misappropriated.
I imagine, there's several of them, I'm sure,
yeah, especially as more white artists started integrating, the music of African Americans into into their culture. So, it's such a. I mean, it's all good, but it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's hard to sometimes get sarcasm over.
Absolutely.
Over the internet and different things and stuff, or whatever, different through music and things sometimes.
I fell into that trap big time with this one.
Right.
But it all worked out, and it's still one of my favorite tracks. When Daniel was recording it, every time we'd finish a take, he'd go, "It's still a hit."
Oh yeah.
So he was happy with it.
Sure. Well, again, you can find all these on your Spotify and Bandcamp and wherever you're grabbing digital music today. We had a couple other things we want to share before we get out of here, though. We that's all Chris's solo stuff, but you also we mentioned Bobby Stevens, and you're a part of his band.
Yeah. I know Bobby from the Wilderness. The Wilderness would a while back did a God, what was that show? Oh, it was a Bruce Springsteen tribute show at Off Broadway, and they needed a keyboard player, so I kind of sat in with them and got to know those guys from that. So a couple years would go by, and Bobby contacts me, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm playing my solo stuff, and I'm putting a band together, and do you want to play on my record?" He's recording a record at the time, and I was like, "Hell yeah, I do." I mean, he's just such a powerful songwriter, and he's got such a good voice. Like, the thing about me is I do my little music stuff on the side, but this is kind of where my heart is making sure I'm doing a good job with Bobby's music and trying to do it justice, because I think he's an important songwriter in the city. There's not a lot of people doing what he does, and he's such a unique talent. And the cool thing is Pookie, Justin Haltmer is in that band too, who's in the Disappeared, he's in the Wilderness, and Pookie's cousin, a great guy named Dustin, who is just a cool dude. He's playing drums, and then we have Nick Gussman is in that band too. And I didn't know Nick before this. Nick just mentioned to me, he was like, "Yeah, I got a band too on the side," and I had no idea how good Nick is.
Oh yeah.
One night, Bobby and Bobby's band, and we're playing this little show at the Ready Room, one of those Wednesday night local showcase things that they do.
Right.
And Nick's like, "Yeah, my band's gonna play that too." I'm like, "Oh, cool, man! So you can just I'll get to hear you guys play, and then we can all play in Bobby's band." He's like, "Sweet!" And then his band plays, and they're freaking super good. I felt so inadequate. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so they're just what I'm getting at is I'm just kind of I'm blessed to be surrounded by these guys, because I get a chance to see these dudes in their prime really start pumping out good stuff, and Nick's about to drop a killer album.
I told him a while back, but that album and him he's not just favorite for St. Louis, one of my favorite all-time writers. He's really onto something. That record is incredible, and I'm just excited to see what happens next, man.
I am too, because I've always been a big fan of good country music, especially alt country, that kind of genre of alt country. And I don't know if Nick necessarily falls into that, but my first concert was the Bottle Rockets. I grew up in Festus, so the Bottle Rockets are from Festus, and that was my first concert ever. And so I've always been kind of connected to that sound, and you learn to like we were talking earlier, migrate to other artists, and I think Nick is coming along at this really special time where the 90s country sound is kind of starting to leak back into the more artful side of country music. If you really listen to Alan Jackson, that dude wails. He's super good.
Yeah.
But I remember people in the day, people were just "Oh, that's awful," that's not real country or whatever.
Sure.
Whatever, man, that's real country. That's good stuff. And I kind of feel like Nick's in that same, he's got a lot of Dylan influence. He's got a lot of Neil Youngish stuff too. But at the same time, he kind of hits on that kind of just good jam country vibe.
Oh yeah.
And he can rock. So, and Bobby, who has recorded an album and one day will release it, I hope, because it's super, super good. I'm just excited for him too because he's got a lot of good stuff on the horizon.
That speaking of those guys, they did write in on some questions. I always like to put your pictures up online and ask if they have some questions, and those guys did write in, and Nick said ask him about his run-in with Wesley Willis.
Yes.
I'm guessing there's a story there.
Do you know Wesley Willis?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What's suck a male camel's dick? I'm like,
it's a classic tune.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good Wesley Willis impression. In a band I was in a long time ago, Failing English, it was a pop punk band. Wesley Willis was playing in town. He was playing at the Creepy Crawl. This was like 2002, 2003 maybe. And so we got a chance to open up for Wesley Willis. And like, you're not going to pass that up because, one, it was going to sell out. Like,
Dear Diary.
Yes. Like, that is like, you don't pass up opportunities like that. So yeah, the day comes, we show up to the show, and we play our set, and there's like 300 people there, and not a single person in that crowd could they did not care at all about us, man. They were checking their watches, they were, having like they were just get off the stage so Wesley Willis can get up here and do his thing. And the thing about Wesley Willis you have to understand is, he's a novelty act, because he basically just hits like a demo on a Casio keyboard and he kind of like, I don't know, rants over it. Like, it's like his therapy, man. Well, it was his therapy. He's dead now, but so anyway, the real heart of the story is before Wesley plays, they were setting up his gear on stage, and I wanted to meet him, so I walk up to him and I'm like, Wesley, how you doing, man? My name's Chris. We just opened up for you. And if Wesley Willis likes you, he headbutts you. Okay? It's kind of a weird quirk. If you look at any picture of Wesley Willis, you'll notice there's a permanent bruise on his forehead, and that's from headbutting people. So he goes, come here for a minute. And I kind of lean in close, and he goes, say rock. And I go, okay, rock. And then he headbutts me. And he goes, say roll. And I go, roll. And so he headbutts me. Rinse and repeat. Say rock. Rock. He headbutts me. Say roll. Roll. Headbutts me. This went on for 3 to 5 minutes. It felt like an hour.
Right.
Like, and like he is, he was schizophrenic. So like you didn't want to upset him because he was a big man. He was like 6'6" and weighed about 400 pounds. So you didn't want to make him mad. But also, like, I'm not going to interrupt him, like, he's Wesley Willis, so I headbutted Wesley Willis for like 5 minutes. And then, another kind of funny thing about that time was, that show was he was an artist. He was good at drawing, and he would sell his art at the shows. I wish I would have bought one because now they're worth like hundreds to thousands of dollars. But so he had like pictures for sale, like cityscapes that he had drawn, and my guitar player in this band, he walks up to him and he goes, "Hey Wesley, since we're the opening band, cut me a deal on one of your pictures, man. Like give me a discount." And they were $50 a piece. And he goes, "All right, one for $50." And he goes, "Wesley, that's not a deal. That's the price you have marked." And he goes, "All right, 2 for $100." So Wesley Willis was still a businessman, more than anything. So that's my Wesley Willis story. He
first time I met one of my favorites, Will Hogue, and the first time I met him, he had a similar kind of thing. I walked up to the merch table and I was going to buy a CD, and he goes, "Yeah, they're 1 for 10 or 2 for 20." And I was like, "Man, what a deal!
What a deal!" Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah. So
I got $50. That's a steal for a Wesley Willis original. I should have bought. I mean, I was probably like 21 years old. I didn't buy. I didn't have $50. Who am I kidding?
Sure.
So
there's a lot of things like that I kick myself about. Not going to shows or something, and like or some different things like he said like getting to see Tom Petty one more time, or different some of the different things like that and stuff like but my wife and I just saw David Byrne a few months ago when he was in town, and it was one of those moments where like
we better go see him because he's getting kind of old, you know. And he's in good shape and all, but like you just never know when people are gonna kick off, you know. And Petty just like, he just died out of nowhere, and
but yeah, that's I try. That's why I try to live my life the way I do. Like try to just go to everything because like you just never know, man. I don't know when my time's up. So I'm trying to live life to the fullest.
You're doing it. You're everywhere, man. You're all over the place.
Yeah, man. I love it though. Like I said, it's a lot of fun.
I did see another question actually pop up.
Oh yeah,
that was kind of interesting. Someone was asking about my Juggalo past.
Yeah, let's get into your.
Whoop whoop. Yeah, whoop whoop. Fago for life. I can neither confirm or deny I was a Juggalo. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
So, I like there being mystery surrounding that.
Right. I've never been a Juggalo, but those guys. They were just here like a week ago or something like that in the ICP, and
really?
And packed out pops and
I don't doubt it. I mean,
and sprayed Fago everywhere.
Here's the thing about Juggalos. If you want to talk about Juggalos, they used to be frowned upon, man.
Right.
And like just in the past couple years, I've really I have learned to respect the Juggalo demographic.
Yeah.
They're a community. They seem to be nice people. They look out for each other. They're not hurting anybody. And from what I understand, I've never been to an ICP show, but apparently they put on one hell of a show.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I would go to an ICP show if I was.
Yeah, I don't know where they sort of started getting a bad rap at one time. People claiming that they were a gang or something.
Yeah, I don't
like,
understand that.
And they defended it. And we're like, we're not, you know, like whatever. If you want to call us a gang, go ahead. But like, you know, we're not doing anything bad. We're just a community of people and stuff.
Just a bunch of folks who celebrate the same stuff, you know, and I think that's cool. I mean, leave them alone, man.
Yeah,
they're just doing their thing.
I think a lot of them. I mean, I don't know if all the facts and details about it all, but I think they do a lot of community work, a lot of charity and different things and stuff. I mean, like I
think I've heard that too.
Yeah, they're not just they at their show they spray Fago everywhere and they do all these wild things on stage, but I think it's
I wonder if the club owners are like, oh crap, here comes all the Fago.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Pops about it, like where they played, and like they're well aware of what's going to happen.
Sure, so I bet they bring in so much revenue that's fine.
Right, and they can get by with it for the night and like. But,
maybe they use sugar free, so it's not sticky afterwards.
I don't know. But yeah, they were telling me like with their light guy over there was telling me like people they're just like punting 2-liter bottles off of the stage and stuff like. So
sometimes those shows like people like a few years ago my wife bought me tickets to D'Ontward. You know D'Ontward?
Yeah.
And like we were kind of gonna go as a gag. It ended up being one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Like unbelievable concert. So people gotta like keep an open mind with that stuff.
I went to see Here Come the Mummies.
Oh God, I bet they were.
I've seen them. I've since gone a bunch of times now, but like I went to see them the first time, and like I heard a song, and I was like, it's kind of silly and funny, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of fun. Like go check it out, and like a bunch of guys in mummy outfits, and like turns out they're really good at what they do. Like they're really a great funk band, and they happen to sing silly songs, but like. Incredibly entertaining, but like the same kind of thing. I kind of went as a kind of like, this be kind of funny.
Yeah, just check it out.
And then I'm like thoroughly entertained the whole time. Like
my wife and I were like, oh, we'll just go to this D'Ontward show and maybe we'll leave early or whatever. But like, no, we were like enamored with the whole thing. Like it was so good, and it was really strategic. Like there was nothing was like by accident. Like it was a really well thought out show front to back, and I think people just got to keep it open mind. Like you never know what you're gonna like until you like really dig into it. So.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah.
But yeah, well, let's again check out all of Chris's tunes. You can find the full thing online. Like I said, you can hear the rest of the stories from the internet, inspired and stuff. So
the filthy, filthy internet.
Yeah, but this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you doing this. It's been a lot of fun chatting.
I appreciate you having me. It's cool to like actually get a chance to talk about the record and. Because as I said, this isn't really like a primary focus of mine, and but it is something I'm proud of, and I think that if you're into third wave ska music and punk music and artists like Jeff Rosenstock and those kinds of artists, like you might dig this record. So
yeah, and we mentioned you playing in Bobby's band, and you guys do have a date coming up on November 17th. You'll be at the Mad Art Gallery, part of what do we call Hoppin Hog?
Yeah, I think that's the title of the Hoppin Hog Festival. Bobby's going to be the house band for a beer and barbecue. They're going to roast a whole pig and some lamb and just drink beer.
That sounds like a damn good time.
Yeah, it really does. It's going to be Mad Art Gallery, and the Capitalist Pig is going to be cooking up food, I think. So it's going to be a long set. I think we're supposed to play for like 3 hours or something. I think we're like a full-time thing. So just drop in at any moment and you can catch us playing some of Bobby's good songs.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, I thank you again, and let's do this again sometime soon, man.
Cool.
Been fun. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Well, yeah, that was it.